This lesson will help you to see the intrinsic connection between chords and scales on guitar. Specifically, we're going to be exploring how great sounding vamps can be effortlessly written or improvised using scales as our guide. Simply put, a vamp is a repeating musical sequence typically used for accompaniment. Being able to accompany other musicians and instruments is a skill in itself, and this lesson will give you a reliable framework for doing this. By using scales as the palette of tones from which we create a vamp, this allows us to create accompanying sequences for solos and melodies in that same key. This is particularly useful if you want to create your own backing tracks to help you practice a scale or mode. But it's also useful for writing and improvising musical hooks that can be used as part of your songs in their own right. The easiest way to get started making music with vamps is to pick one bass string and use scales to build the sequence on the other strings. Let's start by establishing our root or bass note. Here, I'm just going to use the open A string for convenience. Next, we pick a scale to build on this root. I'll provide the patterns for several scales on the lesson page for you to try out. But let's start simple with the major scale, in which most major key music is written. As our root is A major will be our tonic chord. We can start by using that familiar open position A major as our root chord. Now I'm going to build the scale on each string from that A root. Let's stop here for a moment and start building our vamp using just these two strings. Using any notes along the fourth string, it could be as simple as this. Let's add the third string to the pattern. I'm now going to build on that fourth string sequence as follows. The harmony is getting a bit richer. In some cases we might just leave it at this. But let's continue and scale out the second string. We can now add movements on that string to the sequence. By using the scale as our guide, we've already come up with something pretty nice on just 3 strings. Of course, we could also add the first string if we wanted, either to add to what we already have, or to build 3 string phrases on the top 3 strings. Even if the bass changes, as long as everything's in the same key, A major in this case, you'll be able to find a movement that fits. But the main thing is, you'll now have a rich harmonic bass for soloing or singing in A major. Let's try another pattern, staying in A as our key center. This time I'm using a mode called Lydian. The only difference between Lydian and the major scale is we sharpen the fourth. This gives our harmony a slightly different quality. Take a listen to this vamp I've pulled straight from A Lydian. Of course, there's nothing stopping you from changing between major and Lydian as part of this same vamp. But be aware that this will complicate things for the soloist. They'll need to have a good ear for these scale changes. Another scale, or mode to be precise, Mixolydian. Think of Mixolydian as the major scale with a flat 7. Again, a subtle change, but it gives us a different harmonic feel. By exploring scales in this way, you're not only creating great vamps for songs, but you're also getting to know the harmonisation of the scale, which is part of its unique sound and where chords essentially come from in a given key. One of my favourite modes is Phrygian Dominant, which instantly gives us a flamenco or Middle Eastern feel. How about some minor scales? Simply change the root chord to minor and build the patterns from there. Again, all these patterns are on the lesson page for you to learn and follow, including positions on the E and D root strings. Starting with the most common minor key scale, natural minor. Or try something a little jazzier, such as melodic minor. However you explore these vamp patterns, I'm sure they'll keep the guitar in your hands for long periods and inspire you to create new sounds on the fly. Cheers.